Just like set pieces in football training can impact on an outcome of a football match, so too set pieces in your writing, if you learn the following rules, can impact on your overall success in the English language exam. There are quite a lot of marks available for getting spelling, punctuation and grammar, affectionately known as SPAG, correct. If you look on this slide, you'll see that there are 32 marks in total, 16 out of 40 across the papers 1 and 2 and each section B. If you can get just a few of these following things correct, it can really impact on your success. Here are some of the main spelling mistakes that people make, mostly because the words sound the same. If you look carefully at the spelling and then the sentence where the spelling is used and learn these, then you're bound to get it right. Here's a few more common mistakes. Again, look at the spelling of the word and then its application in the example sentence and try and remember the differences. Now for some of the punctuation issues. Apostrophes. We all know they exist, we'd rather they didn't, but they do, and here are 3 ways in which you can use them. The apostrophe can stand for a missing letter or letters. It shows that something belongs to somebody, and it's used after the end of the word when there's more than one and it isn't clear. If you look at the examples on the rest of the slide, I'll draw your attention to the school's teams right at the bottom. See, the apostrophe there is after the S on schools because it's several schools' teams. This particular slide is probably worth just looking at, keeping for reference, and then as you use it more frequently, you'll begin to remember the differences. Another confusing aspect of punctuation is the use of the comma. Again, look carefully at the examples and see where it's needed and where it's not needed. There's quite a lot on this slide about punctuation and sentences, so let's think about the sentences first. If you write longer sentences, you give more information and it slows your writing down. Be careful though that sentences don't take up more than 2 lines of writing as a rough rule. If they do, then you should have had a full stop somewhere, so check back over your work and see where you could have put a full stop. Shorter sentences though can be used to create impact and dramatic impact if you just write a single word as a sentence. This particular skill is most applicable when you're doing your paper 1 section B, autobiographical writing. And then there's a few further punctuation marks. An exclamation mark shows emotion, the whole range of emotion from anger right through the spectrum down to sadness. A question mark shows anxiety or uncertainty. And a dash after your sentence instead of a full stop gives extra information and focuses the reader on the information either within the dashes or after the dashes. Again, these are quite fine examples of differing your writing, but if you can get the hang of them, they really do impress the examiners. Paragraphing within your writing really does score marks from the markers. There's no really hard and fast rules for paragraphing, but as a thumb rule for yourself, if you've written more than a third of the page and haven't changed paragraphs, then do so. Often paragraphs change when you change ideas slightly. Paragraphs can also be used for impact if you make a very short paragraph in your autobiographical writing, and certainly paragraphs help structure your paper 2 section B when you're doing the transactional writing, and you can start each new paragraph with a new idea. But there are really no hard and fast rules with this. Here's another slide about the paragraphs where the theory is put into practice. You can see in the paper 1 section B that a very short paragraph gains impact. You can see also in the paper 2 section that it will give you space to argue or persuade with your ideas. Likewise, in the paper 2, to inform, explain or review. Adding paragraphs adds detail. When you look at your writing closely before handing it in or reading it over at the end of an exam, you may very well notice that a lot of the time you start your sentences with exactly the same word. If you can vary your sentence openers in the manner that's explained on this slide, then again it impacts on your writing and it certainly scores marks with the examiner. You don't really need to know the word types, articles, pronouns, adjectives and adverbs and so on, but you can see how they're used in the red topic word for each sentence. This slide about punctuating speech really is applicable to your paper 1 section B where you are writing autobiographically. The use of speech in writing always brings it to life and engages the reader. It brings your characters to life as well, but there are rules. Look at the bottom section of this slide to see what these are, and we'll just go through them briefly here. The first rule is that the actual words said by a speaker go inside speech marks. You open the speech with them and you close the speech with them. When somebody starts speaking within your writing, the speech starts with a capital letter. And then the punctuation before you close the speech marks could be anything from a comma, a question mark, an exclamation mark, and it goes inside the speech marks. Every time somebody else talks, you start a new line, which is the new speaker, new line rule. You don't have to really put very much speech into your writing, but some is better than none. Overuse equally doesn't have much impact.